Mushrooms, we use them a lot, and we think of them as a vegetable. And culinarily, it is a vegetable because that's how we use it. But technically, it is not a vegetable. It is a fungi. It has no leaves, it has no fruit, it has no flower, has no roots. But it's delicious. Although some are poisonous, but if you buy them at the store, you're safe. And they are very, very useful. I want to show you how you can get it that it's not fresh, because then that way you can have it anytime. Down here, I have a can of mushrooms. These are called the straw mushrooms, and you'll usually find these in the Asian cooking aisle. Because in the Asian cooking, fungi is used a lot, and mushrooms is one of those. And then this is a jar, and you can see how they cut it up, and they're into chunks and pieces. Now, most people think of mushrooms when they think of Italian food. Another way that the fungi is used is in the spaghetti sauces and in their salads that they make. But there is fungi everywhere, and every country has its own little fungi, and we really like mushrooms in the United States. So let's talk about how to buy mushrooms at the store. So down here we have kind of the typical mushroom. It's not too big, not too small. It's kind of whitish in color. And when you're choosing it, they usually come now in packages of some kind. This one had a cover over it. You want to be sure that they look like they're fresh. There's usually a bottom turned up, and you can see that if it's dried out or not. They get them to the stores in a timely manner now, and it's not as much to worry about. So you want to be sure that they look good in color. Now this other kind over here are smaller. Some people call these the button mushroom, and they're darker, and that's normal for them, as you can tell. They're all dark colored. Now the thing to watch out for when you're picking them yourself is once they start opening on the bottom, no matter what color it is or what size it is, that means it's an older mushroom. So you may or may not want to use it. The more open it becomes, the stronger the taste. This is more like what you'd want. You can't see the little sporgills at all. So these are really good ones. Now, here comes the portobello mushroom. This is used a lot, especially in vegetarian cooking, because they stuff them. And when they come flat, they don't have the stems on them, and you can see the dark gills underneath. Now, when you get them home, any kind, what I do is I take off the plastic wrap that was on them, or I take them out of the plastic bag when I pick them, and then but you want them to not dry out, but you don't want them to get soggy. The one thing about mushrooms is they love to absorb water. So what I do is I put just a plain paper towel over the top of them. I took off the saran wrap that was on it. I would do the same to all of these. I would just take a paper towel and just tuck it around it. That way it kind of keeps it fresh. The thing is, then you can't see it. So you got to be sure and check on it so you don't lose your mushrooms or wait till they get too old. There is a protein in mushrooms that is sometimes hard to digest for some people, but once you cook it, it's not like that anymore. So if you have a problem with mushrooms and you've used it raw, then try it cooked and see how that goes. Okay, so what do we do with them now? Well, as I've always said, I'm the easy cook, so I'm going to show you 2 easy ways to do it. So let's take a couple of these medium-sized mushrooms that we have here, and we need to clean them. All of them need to be brushed off. They're pretty clean when they get there. I have a mushroom brush, and I just brush it off. And as you can see, there's a little bit of dust falling on. They usually are grown in some kind of medium, so there's not a lot of dirt on them. Okay? And since I'm going to cook these, it's safer than if I was not going to cook them. So I brush these off, and I would do that to the big ones, the small ones, no matter what size. Now, oops, dirt. Now, you want to cut off the base of the stem because it's gotten dirty, it's been handled, and this way it opens it up, and there it is, nice and clean again. So I do the same to both of these. I'm just going to do 2 for you. I'm going to show you the easiest way. There's a little piece of dirt stuck there. And it's probably not dirt. It doesn't feel like dirt. It feels more like the medium they grow them in. So the best thing to do is to slice them and then just saute them. So I'm just going to slice them down the side. And I just, they're about 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch thick. You don't want them to, I kind of cut it. I don't cut straight down from the top. I find that if I lean it, and I have this here, it kind of props it up and it's easier to cut. Because then I just come down through it. and it sits there for me. So these are my slices. Now, I could instead just quarter them. So I could just go down this way and then cut them over. And this is another way. It depends on how you're going to be using them. If you're going to be kind of using them as a side dish to a meat or to your pasta, you might want to just quarter them because then they're meatier. But if you're going to have people put them on their hamburgers, or they're going to be used as a condiment kind of thing, you might want to just slice them. And you know, the thinner sometimes the better. So now we're going to put them in to just plain butter. The amount of butter depends upon you. You could also use one of your favorite oils. So I'm just going to put these in there, and I'm going to saute them, which means I'm just going to toss them around. This doesn't take very long, about 3 to 5 minutes. And then you take them out. If you can see in there, I've got them and I'm getting them covered with the butter. Whoops, one jumped out, didn't want to stay in. But that way, they just get steamed through, and all you're trying to do really is heat them. You don't really have to cook them, but we also want to break down that protein, so we do want them to get hot all the way through. And so after you do this, you can add them to your... one of my favorite ways to use these is to just use pesto sauce in these and put it on your spaghetti. Ah, great. Great stuff. Or you can just use this as a mushroom side dish. Okay, so we're going to let those cook for a second, and I'll show you the other thing to do. We'll use these little button ones, and we'll put them on skewers. So I do the same thing. I would brush them off. Most of these I've already brushed off before I put them out here. And sometimes you peel off a piece of the mushroom, and that's okay. But peel, you know, cut off the bottom part. And then what you can do with them is you can get the thin metal skewers like these and just stick them down through the stem so they come out the stem. That way they won't get lost so much in this. And you could put this with other vegetables, or you can just put this on with other mushrooms. And then you just lay them on the grill. And you have to keep turning them so that they get done on all the way across. And they're going to shrivel up. They're going to look kind of wrinkly when they get done. Grilling is a great way to cook the portobello mushroom. You need to keep it over to the side a little bit away from the meat because it doesn't need quite as much heat, and you need to turn it at least one time. So go to my website and find out a lot more stuff about mushrooms.